Market demand for dairy products is booming. U.S. cheese exports to Japan grew 117% to more than 8,000 tons last year. U.S. per capita yogurt consumption has increased more than fivefold since 1980, and there are many new good-for-you dairy products that include probiotics, added fiber, omega-3s, as well as reduced fat and calorie options. Joining us to talk about the new market opportunities for dairy and the barriers that could prevent our industry from growing is IDFA's President and CEO Connie Tipton. Connie, thanks for being here today.
My pleasure, Peggy. Nice to be with you.
It's good. Oh, so let's just get started.
Sure.
Why is dairy reform really important for our industry?
Well, you know, just a few years ago, our industry didn't export anything unless it was subsidized by the government, and that was largely because policies in Europe and elsewhere kept world market prices artificially high, and there just wasn't that opportunity. But today, we are exporting like, you know, gangbusters, and we're going to get probably to 15% of our production in exports this year, and that's commercially. So that's a great story of growth and opportunity. And those market opportunities have attracted a lot of businesses to the United States. We have companies from France and Ireland and Canada who have either bought or built facilities in the United States. We have facilities in the United States that are expanding to meet this growing global demand. So it's a total success story for the U.S. industry, and it's important that we get our policies right so that we can take full advantage and be a consistent exporter in these markets.
So what sort of policy reforms should we be looking at?
You know, we're in an economic and policy environment where I think the KISS approach applies, the keep it simple, stupid. We have some very complicated programs, and we need to remove these policies and regulations that lead to bad decisions in the marketplace. The fact is we've got farms and businesses that can be successful, that are good entrepreneurs. We just need to give them the right tools and kind of get out of the way so that they can do their job. Here are some of our ideas. First, we have to get rid of the dairy price support program. That it encourages people to make products that the market doesn't want. Non-fat dry milk, there's some market for it, but it's mainly a product that people make because the government subsidizes it and will buy it if markets crash. So we need to get rid of that. Then we can take a program that exists, the Livestock Gross Margin Program for Dairy. It's an insurance program, has a lot of flexibility, it's voluntary. We just need to make sure that that program is adequately funded so that dairy farmers can use it and have a tool similar to crop insurance for all of the other farmers out there. It's a program that works. We don't need to invent a new program where we're mandating what happens to farmers, taking away dollars from them. They're smart, they're entrepreneurial, they just need the right tools to make their businesses work. And then next we need to propose, we are proposing setting up tax-deferred savings accounts for dairy farms. So when they have good years, they can put money away in a tax-deferred savings account instead of making investments just to avoid taxes. This gets you out of the boom and bust sort of cycles, and analysis does show that it decreases the volatility in the marketplace. So that's really an important thing to do.
Connie, not too long ago you said that if the U.S. dairy industry were laid out as a board game, it would have way too many rules and too many restrictions rather than choices for the players. What role does the federal milk pricing system play in this complicated system?
Yeah, well, I'm glad you asked that because it's a Depression-era system that has a complex government bureaucracy setting our milk prices. And we propose just simplifying this system, getting rid of the formula pricing, letting people go to the market and buy their milk. Sounds crazy, but this is what everybody does in every other product virtually. The government doesn't come in and set the price. So everybody go buy their milk. The one thing we would retain as a transition are the premiums that Class 1, the fluid milk processors pay. Those are called the Class 1 differentials in the current system. So we'd start out the first year and they'd pay those same premiums or differentials into the market pool, and those would be divvied up among all of the farmers who are in that pool by the market administrator. Then the second year you'd reduce those by 20%, and each successive year for 5 years, and then you would be rid of all of the pricing and pooling provisions that are run by the government. So you'd really get the government out of setting this price every month, which is what they do now, and I think it would be just a huge boon to the industry. We've had an over 30-year decline in per capita consumption of fluid milk. And I don't think we can ignore the fact that price is part of the reason of that. You know, back in the Depression, they felt that the value really was on fluid milk and making sure everybody had milk to drink. Today, that value has declined, and cheese is what is really growing in market demand, not fluid milk. So I think this would go a long way to make sure that we are getting milk going to the products where it's got the value and where it has its highest value use.
So change the safety net to something that already exists but needs funding, set up savings accounts, and simplify milk pricing so that markets can do what markets are supposed to do. That certainly sounds more simple.
Well, it is, and I think these are ideas that are in keeping where most Americans are today. They want government out of what's going on in their lives. They want to make their own decisions, and we need to get out of the way so people in the dairy industry can succeed. They can grow their markets, they can grow their facilities, they can provide more jobs, and I know that we in America know how to do this, and we can be successful in our industry and make these kind of changes for the better.
But change can be difficult. What difference will a simplified approach mean to the dairy industry?
Well, I think it will absolutely mean more market opportunity for our dairy industry. It'll mean continued growth and expansion of facilities here. Will continue to attract people to our market to use the U.S. as a platform for growth. That means more U.S. jobs. It means more opportunities, and I think a real success for the whole industry.
Connie, thank you for joining us today. You've provided a lot of information and a lot of food for thought, and we really appreciate you taking the time to join us.
Thanks, Peggy. Good to be here.
And thank you, too, for joining us for Coffee with IDFA.